Should you really build what people tell you that they want? Maybe not. We will see why and what to do instead. Let's get started. Time ago, at an organization, people said that they wanted brochures in order to promote a community. So the organization built it, and then people praised it, which is great. But then let's go to the final situation. The sad ending is that actually people didn't use the brochures, which is sad. What was the explanation for this? The reason is in the demand of a gap. And it's very similar to, for example, why in democracy, many people say that they want democracy. However, for example, in the last elections in the European Union, about half the population didn't vote. And in the European Union, there is a huge number of grants. However, every year, a lot of this money is not assigned. One could think that this is all about creation and distribution, this dilemma in which you need to address each of those. But I don't believe so. I think it goes beyond. It's about the user's research. So let's focus on the problem that the brochures were not used. And if we get out of the building and talk to people, that is what happened, then there were several issues that were identified. For example, people wondered or people were concerned that these brochures were not in their language. Some people were not sure about when to use it exactly. And some people criticized the design as not being very modern. Other people wanted funding for it, and so on. And we could think that how to solve the problem is about addressing each of these problems, but I have to disagree with that. And let's see why. There are three approaches to see and understand the problem. The first one is focusing on the problem. So let's say, for example, the one that people were concerned that this was not in their mother tongue. And you could think that, yeah, you can address each of the problems one after the other, or even simultaneously. But when you start to think and plan about all the things you need to do, there are a bunch of them. For example, to how many languages you will actually translate that? How you will find volunteers? What is the process to onboard people, to verify that what they deliver was good? How will you prioritize the languages? Who will put things together, text and the visual part? What happens if the person managing this project leaves? Who will take care of it? What if you change the text in the original version? And so on and so forth. So what looked like something simpler became something much more time-consuming and with many more points of failure. Overall, it turns out to be much slower. There is a sunk cost of maintenance, plus an opportunity cost because you could be doing many other different things to achieve success. I'm not saying that you shouldn't address the problems, but sometimes people get to try to solve the problems before they analyze more than they should. In any case, I have two suggestions for you when it comes to solving the problems. One is that you should create minimum viable experiments, meaning that you should try to keep things as simple as possible, following this rule of KISS. Keep things simple, stupid. For example, instead of trying to get the brochure in multiple languages from the beginning, maybe one was enough. Another one is that you should set the target metric you really want to achieve and then prioritize what you should do based on that metric. And of course, try to avoid vanity metrics that increase your ego but don't create an impact in the world. There is a second approach, which is to focus on the task. And this is about understanding the user story. So let's think more about the context of the person that is going to deliver. Just to put more context on it, there is an organization that delivers the brochures to sub-organizations or communities, and then the communities deliver the brochures to the end users. So let's think about the distribution consumption model, in which there is a sub-organization or community that says, hey, I do want these brochures. But then what happens next? So what happens is that they want it, but then they need to find a printer, they need to make the order, they need to pay for it, they need to wait, and then you don't know what happens next. So if you have this initiative or this project, which is the brochures, you have the distribution and the consumption disconnected. How are you going to measure the impact of it? How are you going to get more feedback to improve? But there is an option B, which is that you could replace all of that process in a simple way. For example, what you did was that we were holding on a regular basis events. So we printed a bunch of the brochures and then we brought them to the events. There, the community leaders could take those that they needed and they could pre-order or they could just get them if there was stock available. Plus, it was for free, and in exchange, we asked for value for us, which included to get pictures of them actually using the brochures so that we could promote the brochure projects even more. A third and final focus is focusing on the outcome, and this is about the jobs to be done. So let's imagine that the scenario is that the communities are in a fair and they are trying to get people to join the community. This is interesting because we actually have two different approaches. Because if we think of the outcome, but we care less about how to achieve it, then we think more creatively and we truly connect with what people really want. Let's imagine two cases. The bad case is that we would improve on the brochures. So we would spend tons of hours creating them, translating them, printing thousands and thousands of them, paying money, and with unclear results. That is bad, right? Doesn't sound too enticing. But what if we did something differently? Of course, some people try to improve the brochures, and that helped a little bit. However, we moved on to a different project. So this is what we did. We built an interactive quiz that could be used at fairs, and we created it in about 1 hour. It was for free, and the idea was to use them with tablets that the organizers might have or we could deliver because they were pretty cheap. The end result was amazing because we got thousands of email addresses from people thanks to these quizzes. Meanwhile, with the brochures, we didn't really never get anything. And the beautiful thing is that we could compound the results. Because, for example, we could send emails to those people who filled and submitted the quiz for them to learn more about the community. Okay, let's wrap up. The conclusion is that people should come first, and you should only work on the product second, even if people ask you for the product. Another one is that you should focus on changing behaviors to achieve the outcomes, because truly that is what matters to people. Also, you should practice more the zoom in, zoom out mechanism, which is about switching from thinking about problems, thinking about tasks and outcomes as if it was your compass. This is incredible because when you change context, you realize that all of them by themselves were wrong. And by enriching your perspective, you're able to understand the people even better than they understand themselves many times, which gives you an unfair advantage and allows you to build what people really need and not what they tell you that they want. I hope this has been useful for you. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments and subscribe my channel for more videos like this one. This is Enrique Baltasar. Have a growth day.